Hi guys, Goffy here and welcome back to the channel. In 2026, I want to shoot more film. It's one of my big New Year's resolutions when it comes to photography. However, in previous years, one of the things that's really held me back is scanning. I always find that lab scans are super inconsistent, and then I find when I use the flatbed scanner here at home, the results aren't particularly good, and it also takes ages. So a few weeks back, I picked up this. This is the Leica BEOON. It is a Leica copying stand from the 1960s. Now this was originally used to attach a film camera to the top to take pictures of film underneath so that you could back up your negatives. But what we're going to be doing today is attaching my Leica M11 to the top and scanning some film that I shot on my Leica M6 last year. So let's quickly dive into exactly how we set this thing up. This is the main copying stand itself, and it comes with a set of extension tubes. On the base, it tells you what combination of extension tubes you need to achieve different magnifications. Now, because we're shooting film using a full frame sensor, we need a 1:1 magnification, which is extension tube D, which is the biggest one of the kit, and also part A, which is actually the lens mount. If we put all of those together, it then looks something like this. And then from this, we then need to stick a lens onto the bottom. Now for the lens, you can use any Leica 50mm lens that you've got, or you can also use some different copier lenses that are much cheaper, and I'll stick some up on the screen now. But we're going to attach my Leica 50mm Summilux to the bottom, so it now looks like this. And then finally, we need to attach a camera to the top. In this video, I'm going to be using my Leica M11, but I'm also super interested to see how the Leica M10 monochrome does scanning black and white film. Then underneath this completed setup, we're going to put a CineStill light and a film carrier. I'll list all of the bits down in the description as well, because there's quite a few little parts to this setup. But that is the completed setup. Let's quickly run through that again from top to bottom, set up completely on my desk. We've got my camera, my Leica M11 attached to the top. We then have the D tube here. We then have that attached to the A section, which is actually the lens mount, attached to my 50mm Summilux. That is then pointing down at this film holder, which underneath it has this CineStill light. So that means when we look at the live view up here, you can actually see that film up here in the live view. So now that it's all set up, how do we actually take an image? Well, first of all, what we're going to do is set the lens to infinity and f1.4 and focus by changing the height of the copier stand. Once we're focused up, we're then going to stop the lens down to f8 so that we get the best lens performance possible, and we'll also know that everything is in focus. Then from a camera point of view, we're going to turn on the electronic shutter, and we're also going to set a self timer to remove any shake that we can. So here are the first 8 images that I scanned in using this new setup. To convert the images, I loaded them into Lightroom and converted them using Negative Lab Pro. Now the first thing that stood out to me with this process was just how quick it is. When I'm using my flatbed scanner, it can take 3 to 4 minutes to scan each individual image, and in this case, it was taking me just a few seconds. Having loaded them into Lightroom and converted them, the next thing that stood out for me was just how good the quality looked as well. It seemed like we're off to a winner. Now I did want to do a little bit of experimenting to really dial in this process. The first thing is that the white balance setting on the CineStill light, there's 3 different versions, so what difference would that make? Having tried it out, it turns out that Negative Lab Pro is doing a very good job at balancing the white balance to the point that it was just counteracting whatever setting was on the light. The next thing I wanted to do was experiment with slightly over and underexposing the image when I was taking it. And in this case, it looks like actually overexposing does offer a little bit of benefit. And that does make sense really, because if you're exposing to the right and overexposing the little negative, then actually the darker parts of the film are gonna have a little bit more detail in them, which becomes the highlights in the final image. So next up, I wanted to do a 3-way comparison to see which is the best answer. Is it a Frontier lab scan that I paid a lot of money for last year? Is it the flatbed scanner, or is it the camera scanning with the Leica M11? So up on the screen now, we have got 3 images. They're all of the same piece of film. One of them's the Frontier, one of them's the flatbed, one of them's the M11. Now, let's first of all talk about resolution and sharpness, because I think it's a very, very clear loser here, and that is the flatbed scanner. I rescanned this 3 or 4 times to try and get a better result than this, and I just couldn't do it. This was the best I could achieve. If we then have a look at the M11 versus the Frontier, it's really close when it comes to sharpness and resolution. I think if anything, the M11 just slightly wins because of that 60 megapixel file, but ultimately it doesn't make much of a difference to me. I would be happy with either. Then let's talk about the colors, because this is definitely going to be subjective. I think true to lifeness, the M11 wins, but from a preference point of view, I definitely prefer the Frontier, and the flatbed scan, again, just looks a little bit odd. Now, because we have taken images with my Leica M11 and their DNG files, they're actually super malleable. So I'm pretty convinced that I can take my M11 file and make it look like a Frontier file pretty easily with some simple editing. And this is them two compared, and I am super happy. And I've now got a preset that I can just slap on every M11 file, and it now looks like the Frontier scan. So for me, this whole thing has been a massive success. I've got something that is better than the flatbed scanner from both a time and from a performance point of view. And I've got something that is now on par with a Frontier scan with just a little bit of editing. And those Frontier scans here in the UK are not cheap. I think I spent about £20 just on getting those files alone. So every time I shoot a roll of film now, I'm saving money, and I can also do it all myself with these super malleable files. It has genuinely been an absolute game changer. So this is definitely going to enable me to shoot more film in 2026 and get results that I am happy with. So hopefully you guys have really enjoyed this video. It has been something that's completely changed my workflow, and hopefully you can get some value out of it too. If you've got any questions, ask me down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.